But now when you add our education system, we become some other animals. How we drive on these roads, how we
Ask
don't
me.
give.
Mercedes Baridi. Hey, we
Everybody
drive
wants
like
to
we
get
have spare
ahead.
parts
Yes.
in the house.
Yeah, you're right.
As a leader, there's a lot of pressure to feel that. I don't know who wrote these books that said
Yeah.
that you can do. Shame on them.
Yeah,
Washindwe.
the ragged individualist.
Because you feel like you're the one who needs to bring all the solutions, do all the work, and you're there as a parent to some, as a coach to others, as a mentor, and so many leaders suffer out of burnout because ushike gani wache gani.
Truly, there's resources everywhere for us to grow. We just need to also open ourselves up to that reality that perfection will be glorified in heaven, but while we are on earth, let us accept that help that exists.
Yeah.
If your life was a movie, an audible movie, would your actions correlate with the narrative, or would your actions be saying something opposite to the narrative of your movie? In this episode, we are talking about your lived experiences, how you present, your behaviors. Are they aligning with what you believe or what you say you believe? Or is the person watching your movie confused? Welcome to another episode of the Purpose Exchange podcast. I am Clara Rinchuni.
And I'm Presi Kaburu.
I'm Steve Kiteto.
We are not alone. We have a guest today.
Yes.
And we invite you to follow the podcast if you haven't yet followed, or rather subscribed. The Purpose Exchange podcast is a platform where we talk about principles and perspectives that help us illuminate the marketplace with the word of God, because we have everything that pertains to life and godliness. We welcome you to yet another episode. As Presi says, grab your tea, your coffee, your juice, your tissues, in case it hurts. Panguza machozi. And without further ado, I will allow our guest to introduce himself briefly before we go to a deeper introduction.
All right. Thank you, Clara and Presi. I'm really glad to be here. Steve Kiteto is my name. I'm a co-founder, my wife, Badili Experience, the company that we work under. And I'll be unpacking more, of course, of what Badili is. But besides that, we're married and blessed with three children who we homeschool and, building culture within our family. Yeah.
Wow.
I want to hear more about the homeschooling.
Talk about practicing what you preach.
I know.
Before we go deeper into the episode, we usually have a segment called our Reflections of the Week. I will throw the ball to Presi's side of the court. What's been on your mind, in your heart?
Mine is a story. Story
come.
So for the past week and a half, for some reason, I can't pinpoint why I've not been able to drive, except for 2 days where my car was getting serviced. And so I've been on Uber Baridi, which is the boda. And my driver, Meshak, a very lovely man of God, I always tell him, Meshak, mimi sina watoto na sina bwana. So usinimalize kwa barabara. Carry me preciously. And so when I was, enjoying, or rather when I was on my Uber rides, crossing, going to different meetings and things like that, I felt like, first of all, it was so intentional because I just bought an Uber Baridi, but yangu ni Mercedes Baridi.
Hey, sorry.
And I was asking God, did I make the wrong choice? What was I thinking buying this? Because I was trying to save time. And I'm like, everybody's telling me it's so dangerous. So I felt like he used that week intentionally to build confidence. Because Meshak was like, indio barabara utakuwa unaenda, and this is how you're going to go. And so he would come at night, he would drop me in the day for school. And I sort of started building my confidence. And while he was driving me, I started understanding that, when God is on the driver's seat, it's such a beautiful thing because you get to experience life. I literally saw life around me, which is not what I see when I'm driving. Because sometimes you're driving, you're so focused. So I could see people walking. I watched almost like a basketball match. I saw vendors. Like there was life all around me,
Yeah.
and it was such a beautiful view that I didn't have to worry. Kuna bumps, kuna nini. I
Yeah.
was just enjoying. And I think the culmination of that experience was yesterday. So we left class at 9. Our school is at Raptor Road, and from Raptor Road to Riverside, it was dry. When I go to Riverside,
Mm.
the rain. Hey, I started speaking in tongues. I was like, I command you, rain, to hold until we
Yeah.
get to the house. I was like, Mesha. So and then imagine he managed to somehow like cover my bag because I had a kiondo. So my phone, like I don't know what he did. And he's like, tuko sawa, tuko sawa, tuko sawa. And I was being rained on. I was like, no weapon formed. Oh, this rain,
Yeah.
pneumonia, you shall not catch me. And then today morning I was thinking about this story. When we got to Yaya, there was no rain,
Wow.
So when I got home,
Yeah.
it looked like I was a mad person. Even my dog is like, hey, I'm excited to see you, but what drama.
Yeah.
And for me, when I was reviewing my clothes versus Meshach's clothes, he had the brunt of it all. Like he was, of course, more wet than I was. Like he ensured that water was not spilling on my legs. And I felt like that's how Jesus is with us. When he's the driver of our lives, he will take care of us. He will get the brunt of
Yeah.
all the things that the enemy is throwing on life. And yeah, the trials will come through the rain, but we'll be okay. And it was such a very thrilling experience.
Yeah.
And I felt like, okay, when you're with God, that's how life should be. It's a thrill, even with the trials. Yeah, that is my reflection of the week.
And sounds like, life was really slowed down.
It was.
And you're not too focused on driving and you're able to see
And it was
everything
such a
around.
beautiful sight. It was such a beautiful sight
Yeah.
and relaxing.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
How about you? What have you been reflecting on?
So I've been writing a chapter on time. This is one of the books that I'm writing, which is air.
Yeah.
It's basically AIR.
Oh.
What air do our adolescents breathe?
Mm.
The air of affirmation, identity, and responsibility. So under responsibility, there's a chapter I'm writing on time, training our children on time. So my reflections are very interesting because I write for parents primarily, and then they're able to translate it and build their own cultures at home. And so I'll just share one. There are many. I was quite, caught by the whole idea of time that even when I link it with culture,
Yeah.
there's cultures that are very clock time driven. Clock time, which is every minute, every second. And then there's cultures that are more event time driven. So clock time is generally what we have kind of gotten, especially in Africa, from whatever was passed down by the colonialists, and it comes from the West a lot, and Japan, and they're very, very much on clock time, minute, and everything. Versus event time, which tends to be now us as Africans and Asia and Latin America, we're very much in the moment, what is happening. It is more important about this relationship and what event is happening than when it starts and when it ends. And none of them is wrong, but I think part of the thinking from the clock time perspective was coming from the industrial age when people began doing factories, they need to be timed, production and everything. And that thought alone has translated all the way down how corporations work, how schools are driven from the time bells and what, everything. So we're actually driven a lot by clock time. Then now I went to the third perspective, which is now how does God view time? In terms of, okay, fine, there's event time, there's clock time.
I'm sure it's not 8 to 5.
Yeah, no, it's not. God is so on this verse of Psalm 90, teach us to number our days so that we may grow in wisdom. And so that idea that time, there's a deep connection between time and knowledge and wisdom. And so when teach us means, help us to understand, to discern, so that we may be able to know how to use our time well, because then you begin seeing the finitude of time. We live within a span of 70 years, as the Bible says, 80 if you're strong. So then how do you prioritize? How do you put the most important things at the fore, and therefore then not waste time? And then God is a God of he views time from a seasons perspective. And then it has time for doing and time for being, time for working, time for resting. There's a lot of rhythm around how he views. And then we go to the science behind it. There's sleep specialists will tell you about the circadian rhythm. How would you sleep at night? There's, you need to have X number of hours. So it's almost like you're discovering what God already put in. So our faith ought to be so simple. Just get the word of God as it is. But it helps that, you have science to even just remind you, actually, whatever you have. But if you just got it the way it is, it's actually amazing. It's a lot of wisdom. So my thoughts have been around how to flow with God's season, how to discern what season am I at, and what should I be prioritizing for the season. And then even if I use clock time, like today I needed to be here on time, I think it's a sort of a blend and a marriage of both, but not to lose sight, or even sometimes to castigate ourselves as Africans and say, "Oh, you don't never keep time. It's Africa time. It's Kenyan time." No, there's actually a value of the fact that we seem to have abundance of time. In fact, one little joke as I finish is normally, the Westerners have their clocks and their time, and then us guys actually have the time. Then they have their clocks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those have been my reflections around time and seasons.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
a time for everything indeed.
Yeah.
This week I have been finding myself praying over Psalm 23 over and over again, not by planning, but by circumstance. And I remember on a day or two ago, I was walking and I was really reflecting on the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. And the fact that it's a present continuous tense, that it is not that I shall lack nothing, not that I did lack nothing, but I lack nothing continually. And that is the premise then of my obedience, is that first is the Lord who's shepherding me. So whatever it is he's telling me to do, he's already covered everything else that I would need as I am doing the thing. Because in our minds, we start counting the cost that God has already paid for. So when God says, okay, go to Kitale, do this for me, you start counting the cost of going to Kitale, the time cost of, but it's like, I am your shepherd. By the time I'm sending you there, I have already provided. You lack nothing. Now, from that premise of I lack nothing, then I ask myself, what has God provided? Instead of questioning and trying to find that which already has been given, I now start aligning myself to see what has been provided. So instead of looking for the money, I start asking myself, from what I have, what is there to this project? What can I give to this project? And it's really helped my journey of obedience in that I am here, I have provided. The foundation has been laid. When I'm telling you to obey, don't start going back to dig up the soil, now start looking forward with the confidence that that which you need is already there. That's what I've been meditating on, of course, in alignment to obedience, which is my mountain that is moving this year. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for sharing your reflections. I feel like in this point, guys, as you watch the episode, even as we're being edified
All the time.
all the time, we hear from each other. And just from your introduction, which was quite brief, I want us to go deeper into, the Badili experience, but the heart and the brief journey towards it. Because both Pressy and I
Are products of your services.
yes. When you see us shining, kuna watu wameng'ang'ana, So both Pressy and I have benefited from the Badili experience through Resource Global. But from our knowledge of you now as an individual, we have come to understand that there's a journey behind it. So maybe briefly you can share what Badili experience is and what inspired the fruits that we are generously eating from.
Yeah. All right. I'm just trying to think where to start that journey from. But Badili, of course, is Swahili for change. And then experience is, we believe in immersing you in experiences, then give you reflections that then give you insight into what we are trying to sort of feed you as metaphors for life. And so once you reflect on that metaphor based on the experience that we have taken you through, then we believe you begin your journey of change. And the change would be just where we've caught you at, move you from point A to point B, whether it's a small step, big step. We are happy and edified when we see you've actually been able to make a slight shift or big shift in your life because of the experiences and the reflections that we will help take you through. It's a limited company that I started immediately after working 16 years in another training organization that had exposed me to working with corporate organizations as well as families and churches. So it was a whole mix of an array that gave me a full spectrum of where people are at. Then eventually, as it consolidates, one morning I'm waking up and thinking, what should I call this company? And I'm really, really wrestling through, and I felt like God dropped the word Badili in my head. And it just felt, it's like I calmed down, like you're really looking at it, just like, yeah. So, because I think I've always been about change, continuous change, and improving people in one way or another. Even when I look back as a child, I've always been this space of, I want to help you move from here to here. I think later, of course, I get to discover, okay, my spiritual gift is teaching, and then leadership and exhortation. So from that perspective, as a knowledge person, I'm always interacting with knowledge, new ideas, and helping people to simplify what maybe can seem complex so that they can be able to utilize it for their lives. So Badili was built out of, one, the idea of change, and then the other side of experiences. Because where I worked before for those 16 years were very big on experiential learning. In fact, initially I wanted to call it Badili Experiential. I was really into experiential. But I have a friend, Benjamin Luther, who was helping me in my branding. He's like, no, experiential is too much of a mouthful. You need to cut it so that it's experience. Oh, okay, fine. So we ended up with Badili Experience. And my wife also happens to be a trainer and also a marriage and family therapist. And so our combined strengths, she was also working with another training company for all those many years, still does, and they call her once in a while. But now we're teaming up and together with other colleagues to bring experiences to different fronts, being organizations, families, and individuals, so that they're able to build cultures rooted in values. Very big on values as far as Badili is concerned.
I love that so much because I remember when I met you, it was RG. It's usually the second lesson.
Yeah.
And there's this game you guys made us play with the Joker. I think it was like a sports thing.
Yeah.
And you come there, you're like, come to me. Hey, there is another level. There is a beast that came out of me. And we were going head to head with T, like, Hapana, no, you're stealing, And so I would like you to demystify, because sometimes we think we have certain values and then we don't have.
Yeah.
What is your understanding of values, and how are these demonstrated even in the workplace?
Yeah. Maybe just riding on the memory of that activity, because it's more like a setup of almost like what people maybe would relate with is capture the flag.
Yeah.
So you're trying to capture the flag, but you play it with playing cards. But then you're in different teams and you're trying to steal the flag of the other guys. And so it's a setup so that as you're trying to do that, your real self comes out. Now
some of us didn't have integrity. We were compromising. I won't mention names.
Of course, people come in and, as you're saying, they're all put together. If you ask them what are your values, they'll mention, integrity and this and that and that.
Kindness.
The kindness. And then later now when we're reflecting is to say, okay, fine. You say that, you're kind and you're patient and you're all these good qualities. What is going on there? What did you see? And so everybody gets into a moment of self-reflection of saying, There, I think whatever was sort of pulled out of me was not patience.
Yeah.
It was very far from integrity because guys
Yeah.
want to win by all means.
Yeah.
Then you begin realizing part of the values that we have imbibed without knowing is competition. We don't realize how competitive we are. So I think generally as human beings, the way we are designed, I think after the fall, we always want to seem like I'm better than you, you're better than me. We're always doing that. That's fine. But now when you add our education system, we become some other animals. How we drive on these roads, how we
Ask
don't
me.
give.
Mercedes Baridi. Hey, we
Everybody
drive
wants
like
to
we
get
have spare
ahead.
parts
Yes.
in the house.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, just to unpack that, so I'm training in Evasha, a flower farm, a flower company, and they brought all the managers, and the head of the team is a Dutch guy, he's from Netherlands, and so we put a setup close to what we put up, but another activity that gets you really getting at each other's necks, almost because you want to win.
Yeah.
And so he was very puzzled as a foreigner because he said, I read all these books about Africa, Ubuntu, and then, but now I don't understand what's going on. Everybody wants to be at each other's necks and all that. And it gave me a moment of reflection. Why are we like this? Because socially, as Africans, we think of ourselves as, relational, warm people. We love each other. We think of ourselves that way.
Yeah.
But then when put to the test, we begin acting in a very interesting way. So then you realize we were made to deeply have competition running in us. Because from class 1, maybe from nursery school or kindergarten or whatever the case, who's number 1? Who's number 2? Who's number 3? Even when you look at the CBC now, the way it was designed, it was not meant to be a competitive thing. But parents of 844 like us, we are there saying, no, you need to rank them.
Yeah.
So that, and now even some teachers, some schools have begun, aligning to that. Then certainly, because values are these underlying, your sort of underlying postures that we have internally that make us behave a certain way when you're called to. We may not have a word for it, but somebody observing can tell, oof, these people are competitive. And their competition is not the healthy competition kind of competition. So then you begin seeing yourself in the mirror and say, oh, how did I get this competitive? Why is it that I operate so much on comparison? I'm always comparing myself with the other person. That's something that you have internally, and you seem to cherish it. Then it goes on into how even families are built, how organizations are built, even how we build our strategies. There's a part of competition that you have to factor in because it has been brought all the way down so that it's a thinking pattern that you have to be ahead. You have to be thinking, you have to be better than the other person. So in a simple way, values is almost like, if I can use the word software, like we operate all these phones and gadgets, they operate on softwares. It's a software, you don't see it, but it's running internally and it makes you show up in a certain way or do things in a certain way. Maybe a good analogy will be a tree. If you look at a tree, easily I think you see the branches and maybe the fruit or, the full bloom of the tree. But underneath there are roots. It's being held by certain, roots. And so that root system that you cannot see is potentially where the values are. But values are not built on nothing. They are built on beliefs.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not normally helped to know, what do you really believe? Okay, you'll say, okay, I believe in Jesus, I believe in God, I believe in... So if I sat you and we really went through what you believe, you'd be very surprised how many things you actually believe.
Yeah.
Then deeper than beliefs would be convictions. Now, convictions is where ideally it ought to happen. Then that root feeds into your belief system. Then your belief system feeds into your values. Then now you can say, oh, I really value respect. I like when people respect me and I respect them. I value truth. I like speaking the truth. I don't like people who tell lies. I like, love as a value. I love people and, like that. So values are these internal software that we run with that enables us then to behave in a simple way. Like saying what you believe tends to be what you behave. Even though you may claim, I believe 1, 2, 3, how you behave is really what you believe. Now, sometimes we have a misalignment of what I claim and what I really am projecting. And that is where I think the work of transformation is, in between what you maybe are aspiring and what you really are. But you asked me about my simple definition of values, just the internal principles or qualities that you hold very dear and you want to live out, so that when you interact with people, you want them to experience those qualities that you hold very dear. So yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you've given that example because it's similar because from an organizational, I'll use that example. So when the training was happening, it's coming out from an organizational standpoint that, hey, this is how our people are. But also from an individual, because the individuals make up the organization.
Yes.
You're seeing, okay, this is how it's manifesting from an individual perspective that people can say, okay, now this organization is competitive or this organization is, for instance, values connection. From an employee's standpoint, I apply for a job, I go through the interview process. I've come to an organization where we are all a family.
Yeah.
No, because you see now in the interview process, there's also that part where they're doing the value check.
Yes.
So you've
A
passed the
culture
check.
fit.
Are you a fit?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And me, nime fit. You get?
Yeah.
Now, let me speak for myself now. I am honestly myself. So when I said that I fit, actually I was bringing myself to the interview. And I fit into what you said and claimed that the organization was. All right. Then we start working. And it's like, the behavior is not matching the beliefs. And then now the employee is is finding herself in a situation where they have to change their behavior to align to the invisible belief that seems to be running this ecosystem. But then during the performance review, they're using the one on the board. You get what I mean? It's like there are invisible rules, then there are visible rules.
Yes.
The visible rules are for the brand.
Yeah.
The invisible rules are for day to day. Like, it's like in a family.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, when there are no visitors, there's a way the family operates. But then when the visitors come, for instance, the family gossips at the table. Every day of the year, except the day the visitor has come. And now you're telling children, because I'm equating employees to children, you're telling the children, in this family, we don't gossip. But the children are like...
That's our
right.
fodder.
And then now when the visitors are here, you sleep.
Yeah.
You get, because it's almost indoctrinated.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find out from your experiences and even from how you help organizations transform, because I perceive that as a dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
But I don't believe all hope is lost. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't exist.
That's
true.
You're right.
So then now, giving context to, okay, you've seen these people are insanely competitive. But the brand values, one of them is Ubuntu.
Yeah.
We are communal.
Yeah.
We, take us now from the point of, Egypt. Take us from Egypt to Canaan briefly.
All right. So let me give you a bit of a background, even how my own experience, so that at least our audience are relating to just first my own experience and then how I translate it as a trainer. So I'm leading this team, and I realize that one the way the team is. I was about to finish my term in the last place that I worked before I started Badili. And I had sent the guy who was going to take over my role as a team leader. He just happened to go for paternity leave. So I thought, okay, all this year I have been letting him run just to get used to his team, managing my succession. Why don't I just step in now and do my last supper moment with the team? So just ask them, how has it been? Anything that you'd want to tell me that how you feel the organization runs, and everybody said some really nice things. There's this one lady who's very honest, told me, you behave like an absentee father. Now, because we are trainers and we're trained not to look too shocked, I was like, oh, really? How did you come up? Yeah, you're never in the office. And, she happened to have been recruited at that year when I was transitioning. And I was very intentional not to be too much in the office. So that so she probably didn't understand what was going on. She just figured this guy is the leader and he's just almost never there. He just shows up for those critical weekly meetings and then he disappears. I'm not sure whether it was at that point or later I got to ask her, what was your relationship with your father? What has been your relationship with your father? No, I mean, we're actually a very family-oriented type of an organization. And we talked very openly about many things. And I'm coming to answer you. Then she actually, it hit her that she didn't have a very good relationship with her father, and her father was a very absentee father. So she was literally projecting what an authority figure, her growing up, was behaving like, and bringing that person to work. And I was doing, besides just, in fact, that depth you're talking about, going deep, is I realized I was actually raised by parents who were very open. So they encourage us to talk, to ask questions. And so I bring that. One of the things she said is she struggles with me just coming and looking like free, talking to her. She's like, no, authorities are not supposed to be speaking to me like this. This is in the corporate setting. And so you begin realizing the cultures that we bring as individuals, back to your point, we bring them into, from wherever we're coming from with our different experiences, we bring them into the organization. And then the organization was probably started by some people who said, these are our values, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whether they were doing them for the branding sake or just to fulfill, an organization needs to have a mission, vision, and the values. Put it on the walls and on the website, which tends to be the case. But now, in terms of now building a culture, leaders shape culture. Leaders shape culture. So whatever vibe the leader is bringing, we have to help. Now, our work is normally to help the leader. First, we harness and harvest what are their values. So we actually help them at an individual level to understand themselves first, so that they're clear, this is who I am, and this is what I believe in. Now, all human beings have weaknesses, and we're not saying, this person will be perfect after that. No. We're not expecting to be perfect. We just want you to unpack what are your key driving values and how you behave, why you demand your results this way and that way and that way and that way. And they may even realize, maybe this thing needs to be smoothened out a bit so that I'm not too on people's faces. And it's a journey of discovery. The same way an individual goes through a journey of discovery is the same way organizations go through stages of development, stages of growth, and stages of discovery. The same way an individual has, crisis at some point is the same way an organization can experience sort of like an identity crisis that they need to be helped. Because you can have, like what you're saying, over the years, leaders have shifted. The first leader really lived out these values. But then the second one and then the third one, they're not even reading from what the other one was doing. They came with their own things. In fact, they were told, bring performance, come and demand for things to happen. And then the guys were there like, but we were being told last guys they were a family. So then it enters into a crisis without knowing. And so now it's when we now take leaders and organizations through this process, we first start with the leader. they get to understand. Then we dig the history.
Mm.
The founder, what was the founder's ethos? And
Yeah.
how had they set it up? Then you realize, oh, you're really misaligned to how this, even the spirit of how this organization was set up.
Yeah.
And so then the work becomes, how do we realign, borrowing heavily from the founders, and then marrying the people who are in, and then build them together through different interventions, which will be either coaching, which will be either some kind of therapeutic support where they need, or experiential learning. All this is just tools, but the idea is to help you reflect together and end up as a growing organism together. And you'll see, this sometimes even what is written on the wall is not the core value that is running inside the organization. So again, just like an individual, when we help you discover, by the way, actually, I really value, say, a good story. I value stories, and that's why I'm always telling stories or something like that. And it's like, and I don't have it as my core value. I don't say it for myself.
Yeah.
And so we help an individual and an organization arrive at that, and then review. If they're open, they can review what their values are and get the core, and then build up others which are aspirational, because we're always growth individuals. You have to have a growth mindset. You have to say, okay, fine. I mean, integrity is not at the core, but I think we want to pursue it.
Yeah.
And then you begin building now towards it.
Okay. I just have a question or consideration. I feel like our experience, Clara and myself, has been primarily agency before she fled the flock.
Thank God. Thank you, Jesus.
And so sometimes you find you're working in, international corporations. You don't even know what the ethos of the person was who started it. So it has been diluted, or it has changed through different generations of leadership. And then you come here as a leader, you inherit a team. You don't really understand, or you're not able to grasp what exactly is the value system. And so you think you have values, honest, respect, and all that. And then that's not what is demonstrated. And that is not what is being held. And so I know many Christians will be like, oh, this is not a Christian-based institution. So you're in the world, you're in the wilderness. So how do you start demonstrating or bringing that value that you have in yourself, especially as a believer, in places where maybe the value has been diluted, or even in organizations where you find you're not at par with the value? So for example, like in agency, there's a big culture of partying and drinking, and it's sort of like expected. Like you can't have an excuse of why you're not entertaining the client at midnight, and why you're not partying, or why you're not at the office bar, because that is where, tension is diffused and discussions are had. So how does a believer who has, their core belief system is grounded on the Bible and the Word of God, is finding themselves in these places where first there's even another value that is being brought up. The flesh is awakening. So how does one navigate that?
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good question. So of course, what I was describing earlier applies more to business owners who I meet. That has tended to now become my almost sweet spot. I can meet the leader, we'll have conversations, I get to understand them. It's a small company, it's growing, it's Kenyan or wherever. So that's the ideal way. But now, if you're working in a multinational, big, or a big company, you are sort of just a drop in the ocean there. And they claim they have all these nice values on the walls and everywhere on the and there you are as a Christian, and you need to thrive in this context. Now, step one is self-awareness, or let me say aware. Self-awareness is used a lot. Just being aware of who you are, of your identity, and being very clear of what is your identity. Maybe a good example I can give would be in the Bible would be Daniel and his friends. They're in the corporate, they're in another culture, a completely different ethos, different belief systems. In fact, people are even doing very spiritual things that...
He was the head of the wizards.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking of partying, okay, fine. Theirs was like, you need to bow down to some gods. But the way you've been raised, your identity, which comes out very clearly, they are very clear on their identity. No, us guys, we don't do that. We don't bow down. And so at the point where he says, you know what, you throw me into the lion's den, it's fine. You can tell it's not just values he has beliefs and he has convictions. And he's willing to die for his convictions in a corporate, very secular space. But that demonstration caught the king. King Darius is like, what difference does this person have that makes him? And by the time he's going in the morning, I think he didn't sleep. He's like, hey, Daniel, has your God protected you? And he's like, yes. Oh, thank you. Let me just get this guy out. And then he puts these other guys, they don't even make it. I mean, maybe I'm even confusing now the other one for Nebuchadnezzar and the three Hebrew boys. Same thing. They were so convicted that they're able to stand out. Now, let me come back to say, okay, fine, that's the Bible.
Now, walikuwa nasikia God live.
Yeah, exactly. Something has come to my mind. Donald Trump, or love or hate, whatever. He ran this show. What was it called? The Apprentice.
Station, yes.
The Apprentice. I remember watching one of those shows those years back, and there was this Jewish guy, who was part of the team, and he said, Jews normally go to the synagogue on Fridays, Saturdays, one of the days. And he said, yes, you've given us an assignment as a team, but on that day, it's my day for worshiping, and I won't be able to be part of the team. And he was willing to be cut off from the team in that episode. And I remember Trump saying, wow, I want to hire this guy. I like a guy who has convictions, whatever the case. And he didn't show up on that day. He went to worship his God. And then he joined the team later and they finished the task. But that really caught Donald Trump in that show, saying, of all these people, everybody wanting to, I work over the weekend, I will do this, it's fine. You can actually stand for your values. I have a close friend of mine who had a boss whose ethos was, you have to win at something. So she was clear, she has sacrificed her family for the corporate ladder and everything. And saying, since we are here and we've already sacrificed our families anyway, let's work. That friend of mine said, I can't, because at 4, I need to pick my son at 4:30 from school and go home. And then the argument went, okay, then your performance review, here, this is the biggest gap. So you need to be here. And the culture there was, you cannot leave, and it happens in a lot of organizations, you cannot leave before the boss. I mean, how important is whatever you're going to do out there? And the boss works until 7 or 8. And everybody's just waiting, just there. Oh, she's left. Oh, he's left. And then they all leave. They said, okay, fine. I'll review it. I will add you an hour. I will leave at 5. Because now, and she was like, I don't think you get it. I was like, it's fine. Those are my values. And so she had to now really respect. And he was a high performer. So that's the other thing. You don't hold these values, and then we can't even see what you're doing. If you're a high performer, you're doing everything, and especially where most of the times you'll find the outputs are very clear. If they are clear and you're producing, it's like, here's the output. So what is this other business of needing me to do this, do that? The same guy said, I don't do those parties. Yet he remained the highest performer, and he had insights. I think when you spend time with God of all knowledge, he gives you insights. Now, I think the blunder is to not be deeply connected with God, but then attempt to still do this.
To blend in.
Yeah, to blend in, or you're firm on some things, but you're also not taking advantage fully of the insights that God can give you. I can tell you many stories that have come through in my coaching sessions of people who, at some point, everybody said, you're going to be fired at this rate. And then he goes into the boardroom, and I have a very close friend, but I'm going to see him right now, a very good friend of mine, goes to the board, is like, today I'm being, this is it.
Mm.
And you're reporting to the CEO who's reporting to the board. And you're now reporting to the board. And he went, and the CEO just threw him under the bus and just said, yeah, this is the guy. This is the problem, because he's protecting himself so that he keeps his job.
Yes, you are ashamed.
But guess what happened?
Mm.
One of the board members said, there's something you said about the targets you shifted from X to X. Tell me about that. And he said, oh, yeah, I did this. This has never been done. I've been here for just a year and I've been able to bring in this. So if you give me time, I'm able to do more. But so far, I think I have even outperformed anyone who's been in this position before. It's like, oh, that's really good. Then the whole conversation changed in the boardroom. And they began saying, yeah, this is what we need. And at the end of it, they were like celebrating him. You're doing a good job. And the CEO was left there. It's like, okay, yeah, you guys go back to work. We're good. I've had many stories like that. But that demands that you really have to be clear on what I started by saying when you asked me the question, to really know your identity. So if you're clear, under your identity is a composition of what do I believe, what are my convictions, and my values, and being ready to put your neck on the line, not to hold. Because and I am empathetic. I understand. Sometimes you're like, man, I mean, this salary, I need it. But now, once you do that, you've actually exchanged what your reflection was. God is my shepherd. He got me in terms of he has me in everything. And now I'm saying that my salary is the one that. So we sleep as human beings and begin thinking, oh, I think this earning is so important for me to be able to pay school fees and everything. But now you've shortchanged, and that's really what idolatry is, where you've moved from worshiping the God and putting your trust in Him, and then now putting your trust in a salary or in an income, so that you can preserve yourself. Once you go that way, God is still gracious. He can maintain you there. Maybe you come back to your senses. But ultimately, from the experiences that I have seen and heard and had a lot of conversation around, it's been, I'm scared, but I'm going to stand on my principle. I know they want me to be in that party. If I'm uncomfortable, I'll just explain myself. Or sometimes you show up and just interact, because nothing wrong with that. And have your whatever, soda, mocktail, whatever, and maybe briefly and then leave. Because you also don't want to create a situation where you're completely us versus them. You're there with them, but they sort of understand that your lines are very clear and they respect you for that. And you're able to hold back and say, yeah, that's my boundary. But hey, I'm here. I think my time is up. I'm leaving. You guys continue. We'll see you. And most of the times when you're very clear, just like that story of Donald Trump and that Jewish boy, Jewish young man, people will generally say, no, Clara is normally like this. And if you're consistent, they even begin creating space for you and say, no, don't do that. Clara doesn't like that. And if you're friendly, you're loving them, because love your neighbor. You're not sort of like, hey, you guys are big sinners, and no, just like, you're just there. You're a good person. You're helping whatever you need to help. Over time, and it will hurt you sometimes. Over time, they just get to know when you think of now personal brand, which normally is outward. When you come from an inside out, and your brand is very consistent, then people will just know, yeah, Press is like this, and Steve doesn't like that. He just, Clara is like this. Then you begin winning the war of being in the world, but not of the world. So that's and we can tease it out a bit more. Yeah.
And as we wrap up, this is the last question. At what point do I realize I need help? Because you see, a lot of the times, it is the other person that can see so clearly. I mean, what you cannot see under the sun. But someone who has just a candle can see, there's this.
Yeah.
Help us as us and even for the audience,
Yeah.
at what point, maybe you can give two perspectives.
Yeah.
Someone who is reflective and someone who reflection is a new word that they have learned today.
That it's
Yani,
someone else's fault.
Yeah,
It's
you know,
the
maybe
organization.
it's the organization.
the boss,
Yeah.
the team.
It's maybe what I was taught. So maybe you can speak from two perspectives.
Yeah.
From the self-aware person, at what point do you realize, okay, you need support here? Mganga haujigangi, you get. And also from the other perspective of someone who has no sense that maybe they're not at that point that the self-aware person is.
Yeah.
What can they sense or what kind of markers can they observe? And then maybe their antennas will be like, maybe I need the support that Steve was talking about.
That's a very
Because to
interesting
corner
question.
veils.
Yeah.
And I think especially as
Yeah.
leaders, because
Yeah.
just to add on to her, I feel like leadership is a journey of unclothing. Like when you get there, there's a lot of stripping where you think, I'm courageous, I'm brave, I'm loving. Hey, and then you're dealing with humans.
Yeah.
So it's such a great point because even for me, I'm struggling. I'm like, do I need help? Do they need help? Who needs help?
Do we
here?
all need help?
Yeah, who needs help here?
And what kind of help? I mean, you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah. I get it.
Because from a conversation standpoint, this is flowing.
Yeah.
Now, you see us guys are going back to work.
Yeah.
There's a clog in the pipe somewhere where you can have the head knowledge, but somehow not be able to see.
Even apply.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Or realize I'm in that place where, it's like the frog that was put in cold water. You're not realizing the heat is now becoming too hot until you're dead.
Yeah.
So help us.
Yes.
Help us.
Yeah. I will attempt to answer your questions very deep. I look at life from transitions, from a staged process. And the way God has designed us, your emotions are normally like a dashboard, and you see signals that are just blinking and telling you something is wrong here. So at any point, you're able to sense, I'm feeling pressure. I'm feeling like I'm an imposter syndrome. I'm feeling like, whoa, this is a big position that I'm being thrown into, and I don't even know whether I'll be able to survive. You're always feeling things.
Yeah.
Even for the person who's not very reflective, they're always feeling things. And so that is your indicator to tell you need help. You need to reflect or be helped to reflect and uncover. One of the lies that we have been sold is, it is you gung ho, just do it yourself. Self-made. There's nothing like self-made. Why? God's principle is a community type of principle. Even in creation, it's like, let us create man. He didn't say, let me create man. He's always a collaborative God. And so when you begin operating like you're just by yourself, you're doing your thing, that in itself is a signal to tell you something is wrong. But there are definite stages in life that give you more signals. One is when you're beginnings and endings of things. So when you're starting your career, that's a big transition. When you're approaching 40, it's a big transition that is even psychological. Human beings, like even when you're approaching teenage. So there are natural transition points. And we run programs to help people unpack that. At 30, we have something called 30 Things I Wish I Knew by age 30. It is just bringing wisdom of older people who have walked the journey to pour into you around 5 areas, whether it's career, cash flows, companionship, that's relationships, your condition, body, soul, and spirit, and then your contribution. We have another program called Midlife Reflections. When people hear midlife, they hear crisis, but it's not.
They buy Mercedes Benz.
Yeah, it's like the way God has designed life. It kind of summons you into this place of, hey, pause, reflect. But we like shunning whatever we're feeling, keep going. So in a simple ways to sense what are you feeling about where you're at. Mostly maybe you've not even articulated what it is, but you're not feeling. I like laughing at our Kenyans. Nasikia tu vibaya. But vibaya is, I'm told there's a range of, you guys are psychologists, there's a range of 400 emotions that you can potentially feel. But nasikia vibaya. But what is that vibaya, or what is that pressure you're feeling? Then now seek help through coaching, through mentorship, through, if it's issues internally, seek therapy. Have conversations with your friends and just go and share. If you don't have a place to share and reflect, then you won't be able to know when you need help. And most people, if I take say sports analogy, any sports person who does well has always been inspired by somebody, has gotten help from somebody. I was just studying David Rudisha. His dad apparently won a silver medal for Kenya. And he says, I was inspired by my dad, but he used to run, I think, a longer distance, 1500. He tried his dad's race and said, no, it's not mine, but let me do mine. So anyone who has been anywhere at any level has people. So I think the need, you can intentionally go for it proactively, or wait for a crisis, and then there are people who can always help you navigate that crisis, which is part of what we do. And we go through it back to what I was saying, the identity, helping you discover who you are, what is your personality, what are your experiences, what are your talents, gifts, skills, what do you like, what are your spiritually, what are your beliefs and all that. So we help you actually unpack all that as a person before we even now begin talking about your team or your teammates or your organization.
Yeah.
And I feel like we'll have to bring you for a part 2 to give us practical
I'll
examples.
be happy
A
to.
toolkit that we can give our audiences on how they can unpack. But we're so grateful for that. I'm just thinking that, I need to also sign up. And formalize that identity, because it's true. As a leader, there's a lot of pressure to feel that I don't know who wrote these books that said that you can do. Shame on them. Washindwe.
The rugged individualist.
Because you feel like you're the one who needs to bring all the solutions, do all the work, and you're there as a parent to some, as a coach to others, as a mentor. And so many leaders suffer out of burnout because ushike gani wache gani.
Yes.
So I would really love to host you, and hopefully your wife, to come and just guide us on how we can start applying some of these
I'll be happy. I'll be happy to. It's a wide
to make a foundation. I think it's a good foundation.
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Practical.
So
practical, even for TPE. But then, do you know, as you
I
are,
was also thinking, I was like, we need a session for TPE.
Do you
TPE
know,
is,
as we will come as
The
clients,
purpose exchange.
like tutakuja as a team,
Yeah.
tusaidike, because I feel that God is truly a gentle and generous God, easing us. I think He allowed us to have this conversation and then whispering, okay, and you guys.
Mwanze, na nyinyi.
Mwanze, because truly there's resources everywhere for us to grow. We just need to also open ourselves up to that reality that perfection will be glorified in heaven, but while we are on earth, let us accept that help that exists.
And just to mention, I also go for help. Some of the names I was mentioning here, it's people who are like, hey, no, your brand cannot be like this. Oh, okay, what do I need to do? I'm like, I'm completely agree. That is your area. Me, I'm just good at bushwalking into people's lives and getting them out on this other side changed. But I'm not good at, say, building a whole business brand. I have people who are helping me do that. And some of them are much younger than me. And they're like, no, here we need to do this and that. And we are working together because I realize I cannot be an end unto myself. I know my thing that is very good, but I'm also blind-sided and I have weaknesses on this side. So when we do a let us thing, then it becomes beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if you are watching this
Mm.
and like us also are getting the call from inside that, okay, I've highlighted a few things that I might need support with, please feel free to reach out to Steve
Yeah.
from Badili Experience. We will link their how you can connect with them, and you can please shoot your shot. At this point, you have gotten past the point of being shy. Just reach
Yeah.
out. We will not know, but he will know,
Mm.
and they will help you. We have come to the end of our episode. We thank you so much for being with us. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, like this video, share this video with your team if you guys operate as a family, but share this with your colleague if your organization is different. And let's grow together.
Yeah.
Just a statement or a gain from this episode. We'll just go around with a parting shot, and then we will bid you goodbye. I'll start with Pressy.
My parting shot is that. What do I want to say? Jesus. That start by showing integrity by liking our content. Just
Hey.
subscribe.
Hey.
Hakuna kitu ingine. We've talked about values. You can't be here listening to 10 seconds, 30 seconds. Listen to the whole thing. Share, subscribe. That is integrity. What value is that? Kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even sharing.
Yeah, and sharing. That is a value. So
Value.
demonstrate your values.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How about you, Steve? What
First, I endorse
parting
that.
shot?
Yes,
Yes.
please,
Please.
like the video. VIP is what is on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Values, identity, purpose. So get to discover what your VIP is.
Yeah. Wow, I'll discover what my VIP is. My parting shot to you is to take the help that is provided. Now you know, if you've stayed till this point, like us, we have no excuse, neither do you. So if the Lord or if the Holy Spirit has convicted you about a certain area in your life that you need support with, guys, let us use the resources that God has provided for us, because truly his inheritance is in the saints. So let us just obey and, get the help that we need. Let's grow together. And let's dominate this marketplace. Bye.
Bye.